Hey guys, welcome to the Sports Sense Podcast with Greg and James. I'm the second part, and with me, as always, he might be starting with wide receiver for the New York Giants next week. It's Greg Cowan, everybody. What's happening, baby?
I got to stretch out those hamstrings, wrap up those ankles, because guess what, James? I'm on the team.
Yeah, Greg, I think that the resume, the requirements that they're looking for the New York Giants, and I think you hit them all correctly. I'm looking at them right here. Are you currently in a hospital bed?
No.
Okay, great. On the team.
Yeah.
What do we think?
Have your ankles not bent sideways in the past 3 days? No.
Have you been on any sort of luxury boating experience in the last year?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. You and Mary seem like cruise people.
We're not in the least. We're
Really?
take a plane to a nice island type people and then pay for everything there.
You seem like you scream cruise to me. You scream like I want to be the most popular guy on the cruise ship. I want to play shuffleboard with the oldies, but then also get down with the young ones.
Yeah, no, I do that at an all-inclusive resort instead.
All right, yeah.
I'm the guy that goes to the bar at like the pool bar and goes, "Honey, I'll be back with your drink in like 10 minutes." 2 hours go by and she comes to the pool bar and is like, "What the hell's going on?" Everybody's like, "Oh, is this your wife that you've been talking about? We love Greg," type thing.
That sounds like that literally translates perfectly on a cruise. Like cruise people to me always seem like they're all down to meet like their new best friends on the cruise.
Yeah.
Like we don't have a lot of best friends at home. We're down to meet all the new ones on this cruise.
Yeah, basically. We've actually met couples from like nearby towns in Massachusetts when we've gone and hung out with them when we came back once or twice.
That feels weird though, right? Like it's not the same.
Didn't happen much after that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like it's the same thing with like weddings. It's like you have your I'm a big proponent of the wedding one night stand best friend.
Yep.
Like especially at weddings you don't know a lot of people. Like I went to a wedding a few weeks ago. And I didn't know a soul, basically. Personal detail. Well, my girlfriend was in the bridal party, and I didn't know a soul, except I found one dude who also didn't know a soul, and we just became best friends for like the night. Yeah, exactly. We had a great time. We danced. We bunched with a beer. We connected. I legitimately think I could be friends with that guy if I met him outside a wedding. I will never see him again. And I'm okay with that.
Not even trying to find him on Facebook.
As a man in a committed relationship, this is the closest I can get to a one night stand.
Yep.
I mean that's what it is. Except it's with a dude.
Good reasoning.
Exactly. I'm probably never gonna have a one night stand again. Like I'm not in college. Like I have a pretty committed relationship. I'm probably never gonna have a one night stand again. So these wedding relationships are like the closest I'm ever gonna get.
The closer you're gonna get is if you get a little crazy in the bedroom and you're like, you're a different person. We're awake.
Yeah, exactly. And usually it's me wearing the wig.
So yeah, well, that's kind of what I figured.
Yeah, you're right.
You seem like the type. You have like 5 or 6 wigs, different colors.
I like to mix it up.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about today, as always. I'll say that, you know what? My pledge to you, listening audience, is I'll say that every single week we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, because if we don't, we're probably not going to record that week.
Sure, why not? We have all of the NFL Week 5 action. We're a quarter of the way through the season. I think we already were a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah, but you were a little under the weather last week. So
we missed last week, so we're gonna
like a hot take of playoff talk.
Our progress reports are coming out a little later this time of year.
Yeah,
we have the Week 5 NFL action. We have some MLB playoffs, and we're going to save our NBA thoughts till next week because I think we want to do a big NBA preview if possible.
We do.
Before we get to any of that, Greg, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing a lot of family stuff the next few weekends. So cleaning up the house, have family that hasn't seen it coming up this weekend. Then this past weekend, went out for a friend of ours, Dirty 30. Shout out to Hootie.
Yeah, I actually came after you left.
Yeah, well, we went to one bar, paid no cover. Went to a second bar, paid a cover. And then like 5 minutes after that, some of the friends were like, "We're out. We don't want to be here anymore." And I was like, "I'm in a relationship, and I just spent my only $20 to get in here, so I'm staying." And that's what every other coupled off person that was there did also.
I just want to throw it out there that party. Props to Hootie because I love the dude. That party was definitely like the pinnacle of Hootie was our one single friend.
Yeah.
And he wanted to go to all of the bars that single people like to go to.
And pay
and
covers.
All the couple people were like, "Oh, I can't even hear myself think right now." And that's normally just how I feel like at home.
Which bar did you end up going to? Because we were at Bell in Hand, and it was awfully crowded and terrible.
We went to, I think it was Green Dragon.
Yeah, we started there.
Yeah.
So no, you went back.
It wasn't. Yeah, he went back. It wasn't great. You know, the bar situation wasn't great. Hootie was great.
It was a little cramped.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I couldn't really get a drink. I was after a concert, so like I was already kind of like, I was actually gonna stay there overnight, and I just ended up driving home because I was like, this is bad scene.
After that, a buddy of ours, Zach, and his girlfriend came back to our place and met our puppy, and we're here for like an hour.
Good. I'm supposed to see him next week, I think.
Yeah, next week. Well, don't you have an event this weekend?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry I can't attend that. I'm disappointed.
Oh, good. We're gonna get all our small talk out of the way. You know.
We just gotta get it all out of the way. You speaking of concerts, what concert did you go see?
I think go see Bruno Mars.
The Bruno Filipino flying guy. I don't know. Does he have a nickname?
Yeah, no, I mean the dude that was a show. I mean I've been to a lot of concerts. I'm kind of a connoisseur, a music connoisseur.
You are.
So I've been to quite a few shows in my day, and I think there's a difference between like a concert and like a show. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's definitely
like concerts like
I've been to that are like, yeah, good music, and then there's like, wow.
Exactly. Like I think that like the concerts that a concert to me is like a band kind of just like slugging it out and trying to make it happen, and just for like working through some stuff, and maybe the performance isn't all the way there, but they got some good music and you have fun. It's almost more about the crowd, and the band at the same time. Whereas like a show, like one of the bigger concerts or like a Broadway show even, is way more about what's going on stage. So for example, like I've seen a few times, Wolf Mother from Woman and Joker and the Thief and all that kind of stuff.
I know the name. I wouldn't be able to name songs as easily.
Totally fine. Yeah. So I've seen them a few times, and it was a smaller venue, and that's way more about like, what's happening in the crowd and how the crowd's interacting with the band, all that kind of stuff. Bruno Mars was a full-on show.
Yeah, I could see that.
That was like, there was fireworks like inside. It was in the garden, and there were fireworks. The stage was unreal. Everything was choreographed down to like the second, but it was really good. I mean, the only other show that actually reminded me of that is when I saw Metallica in the Garden as well, which is very weird comparing Bruno Mars to Metallica. But it was the same kind of thing where it was like they had this down to a science. Like This is like a well-oiled machine. It's a show, and in every sense of the word. Like we know exactly what the stage is doing at this point. We know when this song is transitioning into this, and it was all really cool. I was really pumped.
I've been to a few concerts. I've been to like Aerosmith, stuff like that. But there's one concert that was a show, like what it sounds like Bruno Mars was, and you're going to laugh hysterically when I say who it was.
Yeah, sure.
Phenomenal show. Weird Al Yankovic.
I'm sure, dude, because he doesn't have to, because he can't get up there and just kind of like jam.
Like he puts on, I saw him when I was like 14. My dad had like season tickets to like a concert venue by us. And so that was one of them, and he couldn't pawn them off on anybody. I was like, I'll go and see Weird Al. I was like, I'm kind of interested. He puts on a hell of a show. He had like video clips in between like outfit changes. I mean, he was on point. Like the clip would end and he'd be like out in that fat suit, like ready to go. I'm like, guy knew how to put on a show.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you see Aerosmith, for example, and I've seen a few of these classic rock legacy acts like over the years. Like I've seen Roger Waters. I've seen a few of these other things.
I saw Tom Petty, R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. And it's very much like they're just kind of like, they're chugging along and they're playing the songs, and it can kind of like, drag a little bit because they're doing their thing, and I don't know how to describe it. They're jamming,
playing the hits, and they're just
they're playing the hits, and like they're hitting their beats, and it's like all good or whatever. But then when you come out there and see someone who like the Bruno Mars right now is in his prime. Like this is his tour, so he's hitting every single beat so hard. Like he's literally
got a 3-year run like nobody.
Yeah, this is like this is like the difference right now between going to see like, to bring it back to sports, huh?
Yeah.
This is the difference between like, most of the concerts that you go to are like regular season baseball games, like a July series, where you get a couple nice moments and it's really fun. You're like, this is good. I like this. And then when you go to a show, you're like, this is postseason baseball. This is like Game 7 postseason baseball.
This crazy stuff happening left and right.
Yeah, this is on a different level. It's the same kind of thing. It's a different level. Speaking of which,
speaking of sports.
Speaking of sports, not speaking of playoff baseball quite yet.
That's what people are here for.
We're going to jump into the NFL. Week 5 in the books.
Well, it was an interesting week. A lot of stuff happening. A lot of major injuries. So
how do we want to attack this? Do we want to go overreactions first and then kind of general thoughts about the first quarter of the season?
I think that's probably the best way to go. And let's just actually I got to get those scores back up so I remember what happened since it's midweek.
Yeah, seriously. Why don't you tackle it first? Do you have an overreaction for the folks?
I do. Overreaction is now. Don't hate me, James.
Shoot.
I'm a homer, but it's really hard to not be a homer at this point. The Eagles are going to win the NFC Championship. They're going to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, There's nothing you can tell me right now that is stopping this team. They are on fire. They're clicking. They just crushed Arizona, who history shows they usually play poorly against Arizona. They're usually getting either blown out or they lose by a touchdown. I mean, it's just one of those things. Carson Wentz has taken that step. He has moved up. He's completing high percentage passes every game. He's thrown for 300 yards more than, I think it's 3 times now in the first 5 games, which he only did like twice last year, something like that. But, I mean, this team offense is starting to click. Nelson Aguilar, who basically past 2 years, everybody said, get rid of. We don't want him on the team. Can't catch, can't do anything. Has emerged as an actual legitimate threat. He had a 72-yard touchdown this past weekend. Put a little D-Jacks fall backwards into the end zone. Defense finally went through all 4 quarters. They've been really good 3 quarters. Fourth quarter, they've struggled. Right now, they're 4-1 going into a big, big Thursday night football matchup against Carolina. I think if they come out of that with a victory and do it pretty handedly, they're going to win the NFC Championship. Because tell me right now what other team in the NFC is really that good besides throw Green Bay at me, but they got a lot of injuries.
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay was probably the one that I was going to throw at you. You know, the Rams show flashes, but they're probably still a couple of years away. I mean, who else, right? The Panthers. I mean, this week is going to be actually – I wrote the Panthers off big time. Turns out all you needed was a nice little matchup against the Patriots defense to show this is, what would – to jumpstart your offense. The Vikings, I guess I could throw at you maybe. The Vikings are decent this year, but even that is a stretch.
Maybe Atlanta, but I still don't know if they have the non-choking ability. I believe
Atlanta. I don't know. Everyone's kind of been writing Atlanta off a little bit, like just because they lost. They were on a bye week this week, so it's pretty easy to overlook them. But they had a bad loss in week 4. I totally understand that. But I actually think Atlanta for the first 3 weeks looked fantastic and then had a bad loss in week 4.
That Chicago win did not look that good to me.
You don't think so?
No, they should have crushed Chicago right out of the gate, and they did not.
I don't know, man. Chicago's like low-key frisky. Like, what am I missing here?
You're missing a lot.
All right, whatever. I think that's an appropriate take, though. The Eagles look great. The Eagles look genuinely really good.
They're going to be NFC championships. That's how great they look.
Everyone else in that division is practically saying, like, no, please take my wife, sort of thing. I mean,
seriously.
It's a tough division. But the Eagles are looking good. You always knew that you're going to have a good defense. I think the question was whether or not you're going to have a decent offense.
And secondary. It really was.
I'm insanely jealous that you're getting to experience LeGarrette Blount because right now all of my running backs are like fine. But I really miss LeGarrette Blount, and he's having a pretty good season for you.
Yeah. When they actually
Wentz threw 4 touchdowns. Yeah, exactly.
Wentz had a hell of a
touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, you can't
3 in the
get
first
mad at
quarter. You're doing well when the former franchise quarterback, Donovan McNabb, brings his kid in to get an autograph from you now.
That's not bad. No, I mean,
he's this past game.
I don't trust redheaded quarterbacks. I don't trust ginger quarterbacks, but he's working his way into the conversation. He at least is improving, which I think is important.
You're trying to run at least towards the Wentz wagon to get on.
I'm not fully on the Wentz wagon. I think the kid's a player. No, don't get me wrong. I think the kid's like a legitimate. Like I think he's pretty good.
There's actually a funny clip. It's like Malcolm Jenkins and I forget who else sitting on the bench this past weekend, and they were literally talking about Wentz, and it's like, dude, he's just like he's a baller. He's like Roethlisberger, but just way more athletic. They're like, he's legit. And it was just funny. Them like it's like shock in their voice, even though they know how good he is already. There's like he just looks really good this year.
It is funny, like like we've had such a glut of NFL quarterbacks. Like there's been so many bad NFL quarterbacks now that now when you have like 3 good ones that are kind of popping up and poking their head out, you're like, oh wow, he can run out of the pocket and make throws on the run.
He can complete more than 50% of passes. This is
wow,
crazy.
He can step up under pressure and thread the needle. That's unbelievable. Yeah. Like we've literally had like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and everyone else has been garbage the last like few years. So now that you actually have like a younger crop of quarterback that's doing well, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
My overreaction, speaking of which, is that Aaron Rodgers is good at football. That's my overreaction. Let me just quickly. Okay. So first of all,
I guess as a Brady lover, it's an overreaction.
I still am not. He just doesn't do it for me. This Aaron Rodgers, it's boring. Aaron Rodgers is boring. I don't know what else to say. It's like, okay, so when Dak scored that touchdown to go up in the fourth quarter, and they had a minute left with Aaron Rodgers down by 3. What person out there was like, oh yeah, there's some uncertainty here of what's going to happen? Like he's so good that he's boring.
Yeah, there wasn't. I don't think I actually was nervous at all that Green Bay wasn't going to win that game.
Like if Golden State is going into like the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter and they're down by 9 points, like you kind of know that Kevin Durant and Steph Curry are going to hit like 8 threes. And all of a sudden they're going to win by like 20 and walk out of there and everyone's like, oh, wow, that was – but even that is a little bit – I don't know. Like Aaron Rodgers, that was definitely a really exciting comeback, and you knew it was going to happen, and everyone in the stadium knew it was going to happen. And you almost want to criticize the Cowboys for not kind of running the clock down a little bit more before giving Aaron Rodgers like a full minute and a half with multiple timeouts.
Not only that, play actual normal defense. I don't get what is with teams that just give like the first 15, 20 yards.
I know. Oh, I know. You play regular defense all game, and you know, like that at least has a chance of stopping him. And meanwhile, you're so freaked out by letting up the big play that you have to play prevent defense and give people like, and then the freaking, the first play of the drive is the running back ripping off a 20-yard gain. Well, it's like, well, you know what's going to happen now.
Play 2 safeties super deep if you're that concerned, but let everybody else play normal for the most part.
No, Aaron Rodgers is great at football, and I think that I have to just kind of accept that. I mean, it's funny because this season has kind of been like the season of uncertainty in a way, where you just have no idea what's going to happen. Like all of our preconceived notions going into the season have kind of been upended. A lot of teams we thought were going to be bad are good. A lot of the teams we thought were going to be good are bad. There's no real kind of front runner for like best team in the NFL right now, maybe besides the Chiefs withstanding.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny to see like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady can still, pull out game-winning fourth-quarter drives right out of their assholes whenever they need to.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's still nice to have some things that are still, pretty standard.
Agreed. So that's my crazy overreaction for the week. Anything else you want to talk about in week 5?
I'm torn between. I have 2 overreactions. I go with both involving quarterbacks. 1 positive, 1 negative. Which do you want to hear?
Give me both. Give me both at once. I want to hear them both. Give me bad news first and good news second. Always.
All right. Bad news first. Ben Roethlisberger is going to be retired halfway through the season.
Oh, don't even talk to me about this. We're going to get to this later on in terms of fantasy. Who's dead
so
today.
Bad.
We'll talk about this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can touch on that. That's my overreaction, though. He's going to retire halfway through the season. He was thinking about it before the season. He's playing like he's already retired. He is awful looking. And basically, he tried to give in to the whole poutingness of Antonio Brown from last weekend and just kept trying to chuck things at him. And it did not go well against the Jaguars. I get they have a decent defense, but 5 interceptions is not acceptable in any sort of way. And then my positive. Deshaun Watson is going to be the NFL MVP this year.
Really?
Yeah. The kid has been amazing since his first start. He looked awful against Cincinnati. I didn't think maybe, I was like, okay, rookie, maybe he'll get a little bit better, but maybe this is all we're going to get out of Deshaun Watson. He has looked amazing the past few weeks. Against the Kansas City Chiefs, they had a chance to win. He threw 5 touchdowns with no interceptions, 261 yards, and he rushed for 31 yards on 3 different attempts. That's still pretty good. If anything, he's going to be rookie of the year no matter what at this point. I mean, he looks so good. Dalvin Cook tore his ACL. The only person that can challenge him is maybe Leonard Fournette because...
What about Kareem Hunt?
Oh, yeah, Kareem Hunt. I don't know. I feel like Hunt's going to trail off at some point. It's just a gut feeling. But Watson, I think at least he's going to be challenging for MVP talk if he keeps up the pace that he's going at.
MVP talk is so that's a massive overreaction.
I know. That's the whole point.
No, I mean, I think that he looks really good, and I think the Texans have to be really encouraged about actually finally having a quarterback. But the Texans' defense has been really good. Yeah, I mean, not really good, I guess. They have 130 points against over, 4 games. But still, I mean, I think the Texans had a good defense coming into this season, and had one of the better some of the better offensive weapons in the league. So I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm a little hesitant to give him MVP consideration.
I mean, he's over 1,000 yards. He's got 12 touchdowns and above 60% completion rating as a rookie in about 4.5 starts.
He's the real deal. Don't get me wrong. And by the way, that's another quarterback that the Browns gave up on, or the Browns didn't draft. So they can tank this year to get the quarterbacks at UCLA and USC, who, by the way, have trailed off pretty significantly.
What about the fact they gave Kaiser the chance and Hugh Jackson basically said, I will deal with this rookie ups and downs. We're sticking with him. This morning, hey, a little bit of news, guys. We're going with Kevin Hogan for the start this week. We're going to sit to Sean. He's struggled a little much.
Oh, my God. I can't
even.
I actually had some kind of optimism going in there, being like the Browns aren't going to be the worst team in the league this year. It's going to be like the Jets or the Bills or someone in the AFC South, or who knows? Maybe it could even be the Bears. Nope, it's the Browns. It's always the Browns.
There's still 2 other teams that are just as bad right now.
They're not just as bad, though, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but they're not just as bad. Like, the Browns are a different level of bad. The Browns have given up the most points besides the Colts and the Titans through 3 games in the AFC, and they've scored the least points of anyone besides the Dolphins, who had a bye week.
Yeah, first week of the year bye week.
Like, they've already had a bye week, and they're the only team that's underperforming on offense worse than the Browns. So giving up the most points and scoring the least is not a good combination, Greg. I'm not a statistician here.
No, I have heard that before in inner circles and from sources, that scoring little and giving up a lot, not usually recipe for success.
Not ideal.
Who knows?
Okay, so we're a quarter of the way through give or take, a quarter of the way through the NFL season. So we've had a chance to kind of get a lay of the land and see what's going on. We have a sample size. It's not a great one, but it's a better one than when we were first giving our overreactions week 1.
Yeah.
What do you think? What have you seen so far from the league, from teams, from players, from coaches, from fans, from anything? What are your overall thoughts? Give us 3 quick hits for we'll go snake draft.
All right.
We'll go 1 each, but give us a couple quick hits about what you're thinking about the league so far.
Well, controversy of protests and all that aside, because who cares? First quick one I'm going to give to you. AFC East, most surprising division.
Surprising division, okay.
You have 3 teams I can buy that. 2, with one of them being the Patriots, not that unexpected, but the Jets and the Bills are right there with them. And at this point, I'm not even comfortable giving the division to the Patriots because their defense has not looked trustworthy. They barely escaped Tampa Bay, and that's only because a kicker couldn't make a simple field goal.
Patriots defense is tough. I talked about the Browns potentially being one of the teams that's led the most, one of the most points in the AFC. Patriots behind the Browns and points allowed in the AFC right now. It's the Patriots, the Titans, and the Colts, and then the Browns. And then the NFC, I believe they lit up more points than anyone in the AFC. In the NFC, yep, more points than anyone in the NFC. The Patriots have. That's a tough defense, and they have a really hard schedule. It's only going to get worse from here. They have to play the entire NFC South, which we established going in was going to be one of the toughest divisions, and I think that's kind of borne out.
They're 1-1 against them right now, right? They've beat
2-1.
Oh, that's right. They already played Tampa Bay. I forgot that. Yeah.
Yep. Play the Saints, the the Saints, the Bucks, and the Panthers. They have to still play the Falcons. Luckily, a few of the games that I thought were going to be really difficult, like the Steelers, are no longer as difficult. They still have to play with the Broncos and the Raiders, and there's a lot of tough teams in there. They still need to go through.
I mean, Steelers could still give us some issues if their offense puts it together for one game.
We'll see. But I know what you're saying. I think that everyone going into this, the Bills are technically in first place. I think they get the tiebreaker. And the Jets are surprisingly frisky. I think that's the biggest surprise to me. I think in that division is the Jets. I think the Bills kind of always do this thing in September and October where they get their fan base really excited about this team, and then they kind of trail off and they go, 7-9 or 6-10 or whatever it is, and that kind of always happens. But the Jets they've already hit their over. Their over-under was 2.5 wins.
And they haven't looked terrible in those wins.
Yeah, I think that Todd Bowles is a decent coach.
Yeah.
So
that's front office is going to fire him for getting so many wins.
So I have a most surprising division in the other direction. I say the AFC North is the most surprising division for me. Because I think that is so uncompetitive. I really thought that going into this season, it was going to be like the AFC South, which has always kind of had some putrid teams, and by the way, still does. Let's go ahead and throw that out there. They still have some pretty bad teams.
3 teams under 500.
And then I also thought that, I don't know, the NFC West has some historically not great teams, and again, they still sort of do. But the division that makes me just kind of go, ugh, is the AFC North. None of those teams in that division look good to me. Not a single one look like they're a competent NFL team. You have a Steelers team that refuses to give the ball to Le'Veon Bell. You have a Ravens team that has allowed more points than it's scored, yet somehow still has a winning record. You have a Bengals team that people were talking about Marvin Lewis about being one of the first coaches fired, and they're in striking distance from winning the fucking division. And then you have a Browns team that is sitting their rookie quarterback after he goes 0-5 because he plays with the fucking Browns.
Yeah, give him somebody to throw to, maybe.
What's going on? Who wants this division? Who wants to win the AFC North? Because I don't see anybody who looks like they actually want to win this division.
I don't even know how the Steelers have 3 wins.
The Steelers have 3 wins. They're garbage. They're so bad. And not to step on the fantasy toes, we're talking about the fantasy later on, so I'm going to find somebody else who's dead to me in fantasy. One of our segments today is who's dead to me in fantasy. Ben Roethlisberger. Drew Brees had 1 fucking bye week, and I start Ben Roethlisberger, and he throws 5 fucking picks. 5 picks. 2 pick sixes. That's unheard of. That's unheard of for a Browns quarterback. That's unheard of for fucking Jake Delhomme or Matt Schaub. This is Ben Roethlisberger. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. 5 picks with 2 pick sixes? Are you fucking kidding me? Someone's got to want to win this division. I don't know who it is, Greg. Tell me who's going to win this division.
It's going to be the Browns. They're going to shock everybody. They're only 3 games out of first.
They're not that. It's not even that inconceivable.
I know. How much do you think everybody would go nuts if that somehow happened?
Well, I mean,
Kevin Hogan comes in and just runs the league.
Yeah. What happened to Colt McCoy? Is he not a thing anymore? Or is he on the Redskins?
I don't know. Colt McCoy, I feel like, is the backup for 7 teams.
Yeah.
That's just me. I feel like how he's still in the league, I don't know. He shouldn't have been allowed after he hurt his shoulder in the national championship and let Alabama win.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's my spiel. What other hits do we got about the NFL season, Greg? Halfway through.
Halfway through. Quarter way through, halfway. Feels like we're halfway. It's been a long season for some reason, feeling so far. Giants are going to basically just blow everything up and rebuild. That's what I'm going to get from what's currently going on in New York. There's no way they don't just basically. I think my mic died. There we go. Can you hear me?
Not really.
Hold on.
Oh, you're good. You're back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. My mic wire's
ready?
been weird.
3, 2.
Yeah, so my mic was weird. But yeah, so as I was saying, the Giants, before it cut out, just going to blow everything up, basically. Ben McAdoo is going to be gone. They're going to scratch everything from the beginning, start over again. They'll have OBJ. I don't know if they'll have Eli. They may get rid of him.
What do you think about this Eli to the Jaguars thing that's kind of gained steam on the internet?
I think it makes sense. Team him back up with Coughlin, put him there, and in general, he's going to get some weapons. He'll have a running game, something he hasn't had in New York really ever after Tiki Barber left. But, I mean, the Giants are 0-5. It doesn't look like it's going to get any better. Just, suck it up, start the rebuild, start getting ready for your future, get ready for that future quarterback to come in and take over, start grooming them now, and try to figure out this offense, get a runner, get some healthy wide receivers, and get the defense shored up, because if you can do that, you'd be competitive, and that's what we thought was going to happen this year, and it's not at all.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff about this this Eli to Jacksonville trade thing. I don't think it's going to happen for a couple of reasons. First and foremost being that there's no major NFL quarterbacks that have been moved in the middle of the season, at least in recent memory. I think the biggest one was like Sam Bradford, and that was the beginning of the season. No, it was the middle of the season. But Sam Bradford's like the biggest name that's been actually moved, quarterback, a major quarterback trade. That just doesn't happen. NFL is not like the NBA. The NBA, you can trade people and just kind of like plop them in and make this, the fit will be a little weird, but you'll figure it out. Whereas the NFL is not really like that. Between the salary cap and then the steep learning curve from people's offense to offense, I don't see that happening. The second reason why I don't see that happening is because Eli a markedly better quarterback than Blake Bortles?
Yeah.
I don't know. You think? Really? Yep. Like, you're going from like a C minus to a B minus? That's good. We like that. I don't know. I can't buy that as a huge upgrade. He had Brandon Marshall and Odell Beckham Jr. in a decent run game, and he couldn't really produce enough points to win one fucking game.
Yeah, you make a good point, but I feel like it's a whole different feeling condition than for him again. And he gets maybe, kind of second life type of feel.
That game that Blake Bortles had against the Ravens, I know that I harped on that game because that's like, I get it. Like, it's a one-off, but like that game is better than anything that Eli has done in the last 2 years.
2 years? I mean, it's kind of pushing it.
No, I mean that's very real. What were the Giants good at? Like the Giants weren't good last year. I think that that's not a huge upgrade, from Blake Bortles to Eli. I don't think that gets the Jaguars much further than they're going to get this year. That doesn't increase their ceiling for me. Like that, if you told me that you can get like Marcus Mariota, who's hurt, or Andrew Luck, who's also hurt, cool. If they trade for Deshaun Watson, great. But like if you're trading for an over the hill quarterback who is not going to be much better than the quarterback that you have on your roster now, I don't see the point in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more so just to get Jaguar fans interested, give them somebody that they know can throw the ball, and that's about it.
Who's the biggest question mark in the entire league right now to you?
As a team or as a player?
As a team. Who's the biggest question mark as a team?
Oakland Raiders.
That was my pick too. What's going on with them?
I get that Derek Carr is hurt, but still he was healthy for 4 out of the first 5 games. The Washington game is really what kind of did it for me. They looked awful. Their offense couldn't do anything against that Washington defense, which you should be able to do something with the weapons you got. You got Crabtree, you got Cooper, you got 2 of the best wide receivers in the game combination, and you got a decent tight end. And yeah, Marshawn Lynch isn't the best running back. He's older. We talked about it in our preseason thing, but he still gets you yards. He still makes defenses have to, respect the run possibility. And they just haven't lived up to what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to be that team that, if the Patriots were as good as we expected them to be, was going to be the team that took them down, and they just they haven't looked like that. And now Carr's hurt. He might not be back for a few weeks. And unless EJ Manuel learns how to actually play quarterback, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I mean, they were one of those teams that everyone kind of just penciled in as like one of the better teams in the AFC. He's going to make the AFC Championship game or something along those lines. And that football has proved time and time again that you can't just pencil any team in except if you're the Patriots or Aaron Rodgers. Like literally, those are the only two exceptions for teams that can get penciled in. And that brings me to my point about this quarter of the way through the season. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, there is nothing going on. There's no division right now that's locked up. I think that you could make a case for, the NFC East.
Yeah, I was gonna say, looking at it, that might be that NFC North right now with Green Bay up.
One game on the Lions and the Vikings, who both look decent, not great. Every single team looks decent, not great. I think you can make a case for the Eagles, and I think you could potentially make the case for the Chiefs, but the Broncos look fine.
Denver doesn't look bad, though. So, yeah, I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
You're right. There's one division maybe.
Is locked up. There's no clear, like, this person's going to win this division or this team's going to win this division. Like, every single week we think that we have a better grasp on what's happening, and then it gets completely upended. So I think that more so than last year, the league has kind of gone to where it wants to go, which is real parity. Anything can happen. It's a little bit more randomness. It actually feels a little bit more like baseball in a way.
Yep.
Where like there's just a little bit more randomness built in. Like with basketball and with hockey, you can sort of get a better idea of what's going to be happening from night to night. But this is just different. It's just I have no idea what's going to go on.
I mean, look at the matchups this week in general. You could have so many things happen. The Packers, Vikings win. NFC North is tied. Questions there.
What happens if the Panthers beat your Eagles at home this week? Yeah. Where the Panthers are at home? Like
what happens if the Jets beat the Patriots somehow? What do we start thinking about that whole division and the Patriots as a whole?
Well, let's not get crazy.
Oh, okay.
No, but I mean, I hear what you're saying though. It's all up for grabs right now. Like even the Eagles right now, if the Eagles lose against the Panthers and the Cowboys win next week against they're going to no bye. But no, if the Redskins beat the 49ers, which they probably should, realistically. All of a sudden that division's close. The Seahawks just beat the Rams, so the Seahawks have taken sole possession of the NFC West. But what happens if the Seahawks next week, lose to they're also on a bye? What the fuck's wrong with me?
It's okay. God damn it. It happens.
But the Rams could potentially beat the Jaguars, right? All of a sudden that they're in the driver's seat. So, the Raiders are playing the Chargers. They could get kind of back into the mix potentially. I mean, it's all up for grabs, and I don't think there's so little predictability in this league right now that it makes predictions tough, makes gambling tough.
Oh, yeah.
It makes all this whole thing difficult. It makes the games a little bit more exciting in a sense.
Yeah, but I mean, gamblers they're pulling their hair out though.
There's not a clear hierarchy.
No, there's definitely not, and it's going to be an interesting. I can't wait to see the halfway mark and what everything looks like.
Definitely. Okay, cool. So let's pivot and let's go to playoff baseball to finish out the podcast today.
Wait, you don't want to figure out who's dead to you in fantasy?
We'll do that quickly. We'll each give one person. So who's dead to you in fantasy football? Greg, you can start.
All right, who's dead to me in fantasy football? I'm going after another tight end.
I am
tight
too.
ends are just not fun. And last week I did Jason Witten because he had 2 terrible games. He did better this past week. Another terrible one who killed me because figured you take a gamble. You gotta go with some guys once in a while. Maybe hope they have a decent comeback game. Eric Ebron of the Lions, awful. He's had terrible year. Can't catch to save his life. He's dead to me. He had 0.5 points this past week because if I'm in a PPR league, and it wasn't pretty, and it hasn't been pretty. He's had 2 1-point games, 1 3-point game, and he's had 1 decent game where he got 12.5 points. James, that was week 2 against the Giants, which I guess anybody can do well against the Giants right now, but he's dead to me.
Yeah. That's a good one. I'm also going to go with the tight end. So early on in the draft this year, I drafted Eifert. Eifert to me has always been a guy where they talked about him as like, maybe he could be the next Gronk. I don't know. And he's not. And he's not, and he's not, and he's hurt, and he's never lived up to his reputation of being a really great tight end. He's never lived up to his reputation of being like a top tier fantasy guy. And I drafted him number 1 overall, and through first 4 or 5 weeks, he hasn't even played. And then the reports come out that Adam Schefter is saying that he's considering season-ending surgery on his back. So I wasted a pretty high pick on a tight end, and now I have to go with like this guy on the Bucks. I had Julius Thomas for a while. Like, it's ugly. It's ugly. Tyler Eifert, you're dead to me. Dead.
Yeah, makes sense. It's guys like him, Gronk, those big tight ends that you expect, Jimmy Graham the past few years, they've all tight ends in general have just been awful.
Yeah.
You only get lucky with a few. Jordan Reed, when he's healthy, seems to be consistent.
Right. I totally agree.
Zach Ertz is becoming now one of the more consistent ones.
He's always been pretty consistent, I feel.
Yeah, but now like people are realizing it. He used to be like one of the 10th or 12th ranked tight ends in drafts up until like a year or two ago. So at least he's finally getting the recognition. But tight ends, basically, I guess we could say as a whole, James, tight ends, dead to me in fantasy.
Dead. All right, cool.
Now let's move on to playoff baseball.
Let's hop into baseball. We missed our predictions last week because of my illness.
I got them in. They weren't pretty.
Yeah, let's kind of go series by series here. So let's just kind of start with the series that have wrapped up already. The Houston Astros beat the Red Sox in 4 games. This is a tough one.
It's hard to swallow, James.
Well, first and foremost, okay, so I'd say that the Red Sox didn't put up any fight on the road, which is kind of par for the course for them this year.
No fight at all.
And then Chris Sale had a pretty horrible playoff debut, which is too bad. I mean, he had some really great moments this season, but I think that the Astros are a better team overall, so I'm not totally surprised at the result. What were your thoughts on the series?
I basically knew how the series was going to go after Eduardo Nunez got to bat in the first game, took 2 steps and grabbed his knee. I was like, oh, that's going to be basically what we look at, and that's just going to be the picture.
First, like ground ball, yeah.
Yep. I was like, that's going to be how this game and series goes completely. And I wasn't that wrong. 8-2, 8-2, or 8-3 in the second game. Showed some life in the third game. Fenway faithful, I think, helped out a bit. And then game 4, had all the opportunities in the world to win that game. You had the bases loaded, no outs, couldn't get 1 run. You had Chris Sale go for a while, looked pretty good. He gave up a run. Then you bring in your closer, who's been dominant all year. He gives up 2 runs. And if he just held 1 run, if he just gave up 1 run, you had a guy hit an inside the park home run in the bottom of the 9th. And maybe if the game got tied then, it turns around. Maybe they're playing in Houston tonight instead of sitting at home watching the Yankees potentially try to upset the Indians.
Yeah, it could be. I think I do really think, though, I mean, you can talk about Farrell mismanaging the bullpen. You could talk about the bats not showing up on the road. You can talk about all this kind of stuff until you're blue in the face, and Farrell getting ejected. I mean, that all kind of led to him getting fired today. But I think that at the end of the day, the better team won. Yeah. The Red Sox have a lot of talent, and I think that this is indicative of why they fired Farrell. The Red Sox have so much talent that they need to be a juggernaut. They need to be in the conversation with the Clevelands and the Houstons and the Los Angeleses of the world and the Chicagos and the Washingtons, and they're just not in that conversation. They just don't fit that bill. But with the talent that they have, they need to. And I think that's on the manager at the end of the day.
It is. And after 5 years, he had 3 first-place finishes and a World Series title. But he also had 2 dead last finishes. And with the talent this team has year in and year out, that's just not good enough. And when you also seem to lose control of the clubhouse, like he did this season, with every week it seemed like there was a new story coming out of the Red Sox dugout of, Price is being mean to a Hall of Fame reporter. Pedroia is at odds with everybody. Chris Sale. Just week after week, I felt like there was a story.
Exactly.
And as your manager, you gotta get one out in front of it. or two, tell everybody, hey, shut your mouths, focus on the game, do what you need to do. We'll talk about this, but don't talk to the media about it.
I said at the beginning of I said it a few weeks ago. This is one of the more unlikable Red Sox teams. And it's because like nothing just felt good. It felt like they had this great roster. They have an amazing core where you have Benintendi, Betts, and Bogarts as your main guys, but then you have guys like Nunez and Devers, and you have all these younger guys who can kind of anchor the team. And then you have the Pedroias of the world, the Hanley Ramirez's to provide the veteran. And then you have Chris Sale, who could potentially be a Cy Young candidate, and David Price, who's supposed to be pretty good. And all of it went to shit. So who is to blame there? And even if it's not Farrell's fault, he kind of has to be the fall guy. That's what happens when you're the skipper.
Yep.
So that's what happened. But the Astros are moving on.
Houston was the better team. They deserved it. Best of luck to them.
The other team that's already clinched a spot in the championship series is the Dodgers. They swept the Diamondbacks. Do you have much to say about this? I don't really have much to say about this.
No, Dodgers look like the team that was, 50 games above 500 for most of the year. Looks like they found their groove again, and they're going to be set up perfectly for the NLCS with their pitching. Everybody's going to be healthy, rested, and it should be everything all go for them.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's get on to the games that actually matter. It's the Yankees and Indians, and then the Cubbies at the Nationals. The Cubs and the Nationals are playing right now, and the Nationals are up 5-0 in the 8th inning. So I think it's safe to say that the Nationals are going to force a decisive Game 5 in the championship series here.
Yeah, real quick, James. I guess we can look at this. Strasburg, guess not that sick. Went 7 innings. Gave up 3 hits, struck out 12.
I don't understand this whole thing about where they said that he wasn't going to pitch. And then it was very weird how it all came out, too, where Dusty Baker said that he threw him on a really hard bullpen, so he can't pitch today. But then he's like, oh, well, I'm actually lying. I said, I only said that, and he's actually sick. But he's not that sick, actually, so he might pitch. Like, who the fuck is on the Nationals leaking all this shit? Shut up.
I mean, they said Strasburg came in yesterday. They said, hey, if it's postponed, can you go tomorrow? He said, I can give it a go, but I don't know what I can give you. So basically, they were like, he's basically saying, don't put me in. I don't think I'm good for it. And then he woke up today and was feeling fine and good and ready to go. But the story had already leaked at that point. So it made it all worse, mainly because now it looks like the negative comments and the internet trolls, including myself, convinced him, hey, I need to start this game so I don't look like a little bitch.
Dusty Baker to me feels like John Farrell in the sense that it's like the team that the team that has an amazing roster but just not a great manager.
Yeah, well, that's like Dusty Baker in any team.
The guy that just doesn't totally seem like he knows what he's doing, and then all of a sudden, his team quits on him, or his team is like kind of in disarray, and he doesn't totally know why.
I've never known how Dusty Baker keeps getting jobs.
No, seriously, I have no idea. And somehow the Nationals are going to force this Game 5 and make it happen against the Cubs, who have somehow lost their ability to win at home, which I don't get.
Yeah,
but going in,
and also Jake Arrieta lost his way to pitch.
Going into this 5th game, who do you think is going to pull this thing out? You think it's going to be the Cubs or the Nationals going to face the Dodgers in the championship series?
I think it's. I don't know what the pitching matchup's going to be. Let's see if I can find it out somehow. It's going to be Kyle Hendricks versus undecided for the Nationals. Most likely that means it's going to be Gonzalez or probably some combo of Gonzalez-Scherzer going at it. So it might be like Scherzer goes for 3 or 4 innings, gives you as much as he can. Then you bring in Gio Gonzalez to try to close it out. I think based on that, it's in Washington. I'm going to go with the Cubs mainly because I feel like Washington teams can't close at home.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm also going to go with the Cubs here. I think it's Cubs Dodgers in the championship series. I always think that the Cubs have the better, I don't know, they've kind of been there before and they know what the deal is. And, the Cubs team has kind of been underwhelming this year, but I honestly think that they're going to pull this out against the Nationals. The Nationals are good. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going with the Cubs here. The other series that's playing the decisive game tonight is the Yankees and the Indians. So we're not going to be able to actually we're not going to be able to give a real time analysis on what happens between these two teams here. But what do you think of so far the series? And let's give some a prediction that might be wrong or right.
Yeah, depending on when you're listening to this, you can let us know.
What do you think? What's going on here?
Well, one, it's definitely shocking. I kind of thought the Indians were going to come in, sweep the series. I think everybody did. They were just that favored. Their pitching is as dominant. Carrasco, you had Kluber, you had Bauer. 3 starters that if Bauer won, you were like, okay, game over, series 1 simply. Then Kluber got knocked around in game 2. I can't see that happening again tonight, but who knows? Everybody's still talking about the whole Girardi not challenging the one call in that game. A lot of people think if the Yankees do lose, that could be the thing that finally pushes Yankee management to be like, all right, Joe, you've had a good run, 10 years. We're going to try something new with this young core. But yeah, I mean, the Yankees have been surprising. The only thing that's not been shocking about the Yankees is Aaron Judge's lack of being able to not strike out. He has struck out, I think, 9 times, 10 times. I don't know. He's basically got like 2 hits, both home runs, not shocking. But he's looked basically like an A-Rod in the postseason.
It's definitely hurt his MVP consideration, especially when Altuve had an unreal series against the Red Sox.
By the way, I think Indians winning.
Yeah, I think that Cleveland wins this too. I mean, I think the Yankees are actually a decent story. And I think that the Yankees it's always better when the Yankees are good. But I think that Houston and Cleveland have been the 2 best teams in the American League all year. And I think that the baseball playoffs kind of bear that out sometimes. I know I said that they're kind of random last time. But after watching, I've watched a lot of games of the playoffs this year. I honestly think that the better teams usually kind of come out on top.
Yeah.
I think that has been the trend so far. It's like the Yankees were better than the Twins, so they won. The Diamondbacks were better than the Rockies, so they won. You know, the Dodgers were much better than Diamondbacks, so they won. The Astros were much better than the Red Sox, so they won. Yeah. Like I think that it's kind of been like a thing right now. So I think it's gonna be Cleveland versus Houston and Chicago versus Los Angeles. And I think that's the way it should be. I think those are the 4 teams that everyone's been talking about at the beginning of the year as being the best teams in baseball.
Yeah, I mean the Nationals and Cubs literally is a coin flip. I feel like for the most part of who's better.
Yeah,
and we're just going to give the edge to the Cubs because Bill Murray.
I agree with either of those teams going. I think those are they're pretty much right there, evenly matched. And then with the Yankees and the Indians, I think the Indians are a better team. I think they're going to win.
Yeah. All right. So based on that, depending on how these series go, next time record, based on your predictions, at least early predictions of who's winning these 2 series, based on our thoughts, Chicago, LA, who's at least in the lead by the time we record again?
Who's in the lead between Chicago and LA?
Yeah, in that series.
I'd say LA.
If it's Chicago, LA, I'm gonna give it Chicago.
Okay, I'll go LA. I don't feel great about it, but I say LA.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Chicago just because.
Okay.
Be a little different. If it's Indians, Houston, who are you going with?
I think the Indians are going to win the World Series this year. I think I'm going to go with the Indians.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think even with using their pitching up more than they want to, even if you have Tomlin or somebody starting game 1 in that ALCS, I just think Cleveland, I feel like they're destined to at least get back to the World Series. Whether they win or not, I guess we'll see how they look in the ALCS and how things match up. But I agree. I think Indians will at least be in the lead by the time we next talk. I think they win tonight against the Yankees. Obviously, if they don't, I think we both would agree Houston.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I think that's everything we have for this episode, Greg. I think it's a good app. I like it.
Next week, we might try to do a double episode type thing if we get NBA preview, and then we'll do a short NFL MLB talk one maybe.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. We're going to disband and go watch this Cleveland and New York game. But anything else before we want to sign off?
No. Everybody enjoy the games. Have fun this weekend. James, 0-5 teams. Who wins first? Giants, San Francisco, or LA? Or not LA.
Giants.
Browns.
Giants.
You think the Giants are going to win against Denver? I think out of all these teams, San Francisco gets their first win against Washington.
Good to know. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week for the NBA preview and what have you, and talk to you later.
See you guys.